I'm meteorologist Jared Piepenburg, and the general outlook here coming up in the next 2 weeks, well, the Arctic air is out. So good news for many except for those that really like that extreme cold. That is kind of switched in the temperature department for us as temperatures have been fairly mild here as we're kind of closing out the year and kicking off the new year. We are tracking one system which could bring some rain, some snow, some wintry mix, all sorts of winter type weather across parts of the plains and the upper Midwest and eventually across the eastern seaboard. So that's what we'll be tracking next week. And then temperature changes as the upper atmosphere just continues to go up and down, which is leading to some warm days and maybe a little bit cooler ones for others. Speaking of the upper atmosphere, let's jump up there and check out the flow pattern here as we close out the weekend and head throughout the work week. We are going to be tracking a big dip across the west coast here, which will dig down across the desert southwest. Ahead of that, we'll get some warmer temperatures into parts of the plains, the northern plains as well. And then that dip will push eastward as we head into the work week. So this is Tuesday with this upper level flow pattern. You can see how that dip all the way down into Texas, including the plains, Minnesota, Iowa, the upper Midwest, and into the Great Lakes. What this is going to do is it's going to push a low pressure system out of the Rockies, through the plains, upper Midwest, and it'll bring some rain and snow to parts of the region. So that's going to be our big weather producer to talk about here. And it's going to impact a lot of folks here as we head over the next multiple days. Eventually, that'll push eastward and up across the Great Lakes, and then temperatures will just kind of go back and forth in days ahead. So, of course, talking about that low pressure system moving across the Rockies and then across the plains and the upper Midwest, weather will end up looking a little bit wetter here coming up this week. And a little closer to home, you can kind of see how that could impact us. And it will all be determined by how far northward this low pressure system ends up pushing. So how that'll impact the Dakotas as well as Minnesota. Ahead of that system, seeing temperatures actually stay fairly warm there across the southeastern and the eastern seaboard with the cooler weather mainly across the desert southwest. This is that 6 to 10 day outlook. A little closer to home, you can see the eastern Dakotas, Minnesota, a little better shot to have a little warmer temperatures. Now, as we go into that 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, it looks almost identical here with the cooler weather expected across the desert southwest and the warmer temperatures across the eastern seaboard. And again, the Dakotas, Minnesota, looking like parts of the states will end up being a little warmer or having a little better shot at having some above average temperatures. And precipitation outlook for that following week, that's going to be that 8 to 10 day or 8 to 14 day outlook above seasonal average precipitation across the eastern seaboard and across the far southwest. Up here, if we get a couple clippers, we may end up seeing some precipitation. Now, talking about just the month of January, right now, looking like we may just see a little below average temperatures in general across parts of the Dakotas, Minnesota, with some warmer temperatures well across the eastern seaboard. So looking like some folks will end up seeing kind of seasonal, and up here, it may end up being just a touch cooler.